Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai. I am not sure I have ever been this excited to begin a live reading / storytelling prayer session ever. I brought everybody a little bit closer. Usually the setup is a little further back, but today we are close up. We are together in this. There were even points where I thought, I might as well just start early. But I thought I might as well give everybody a second to get situated. Make sure everything was settled. Make sure that you've done everything that you need to do. I'm so incredibly enlivened for today. I feel like Govinda is about to do amazingly adventurous things, and somehow or other he lets us in on the secret. He gets to use us just a little bit as more reason to love him. And this is one of those stories that makes me love Govinda more and more and more. So hi to all my usual friends. Hi Leela Manjari. Hi Sonam. Hi Hannah. Hi all my friends. Hi Akuntita. Hi my sister. Hi to all the people who come and they listen day in, day out. Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel inspired by you, encouraged by you, supported by you. So I cannot thank you enough. Usually we start with Jai Radha Madhava, and we are going to. But this story spans several incarnations. So I'm going to start with Jai Radha Madhava, but I also have to sing to Lord Rama, because he is an integral part of today's story. So if you see, like, there's a couple of things going on, this is why. So, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Giri Varadhari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Giri Varadhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Radhe Govinda Jaya Radhe Govinda Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Raghupati Raghava, Raja Ram. Patita Pavana Sitaram. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. So today there's a lot going on, and because the story of Lord Ram is so integral to this pastime, I'm going to be telling it as though maybe you don't know the story of Lord Ram, because these pastimes never really get old. So hearing them again and again, we can have that same enthusiasm and that same excitement as though we were hearing them for the first time. Because today, there will be some added details that you may or may not have realized about this amazing pastime, this amazing history of the Ramayana. So yesterday, a friend of mine asked the question. We were talking about Krishna and the Shamantaka jewel. And Krishna was accused of being a murderer in his own city of Dwarka. One of my friends asked, but what about that washerman? Didn't Krishna murder him? I mean, it was kind of a small offense. Like, what's the deal? And the story goes, Krishna enters into the city of Mathura for the first time. He was a village boy, and now he's gone to the big city. And he's walking through the city holding the hand of his brother Balaram. And he sees a washerman. And he says, "Oh, washerman, can I have some of the clothes that you're washing? They look so wonderful, so opulent. They look gorgeous. Can I have some of these clothes?" And the washerman looks at him and he says, "Foolish boy. How can you ask me for these clothes? These clothes are meant for the king. These clothes are rich and embroidered and they have jewels inlaid in them. What could you possibly do with these clothes? Go away from here, otherwise you will face a worse fate than my anger." And Krishna looks and he says, "Oh." And so he walks up to the washerman, and Srila Prabhupada says with his bare hands, without the use of any weapon, he in essence kind of like karate chops the washerman's head right off of his body. There was no further discussion. There was no prologue, there was no preamble. He asked for the clothes, the washerman said no, Krishna went like this, and then the man's head was gone. So a lot of my friends were saying, like, what's happening? This doesn't look like the Krishna that we know. Krishna usually is so loving. He's so gentle, so wonderful. What is the deal? So today's session is named Krishna Never Forgets. And now it begins with the story of Lord Rama. And Krishna, as a child, before bed, he would ask his mother, "Maya, tell me a story." He would say, "I can't sleep without a story." And so sometimes Mother Yashoda would tell him the story of Lord Ram. Sometimes she would tell him the story of Lord Nrsimha. So in that mood, I remember sweet little Govinda saying, "Maya, tell me a story." And we can tell the story of Lord Ram. But we will add in some fun details that hopefully by the end we will all have fallen in love a little bit more with Govinda. Once upon a time, as all good stories begin, there was a prince named Ram. He was born to the king Dasarath in the kingdom of Ayodhya. And King Dasarath was quite a good king. He had 3 queens. and 4 sons. Ram was the eldest, followed by Bharat, followed by 2 twins, Lakshman and Shatrughna. Usually we forget that Lakshman and Shatrughna are twins because Lakshman was inseparable from Ram and Shatrughna was inseparable from Bharat. So they were like this. They would sleep in the same bed. They would play together. They were inseparable. As the years went on, Ram got to be about 16. And we spoke about this before when we spoke about Maharaj Harishchandra. The great sage Vishwamitra arrived in the capital city of Ayodhya. And he was received quite well by King Dasarath. And he says, there are 2 demons who are attacking all of my sacrifices. I require your son Ram to defeat them. Maharaj Dasarath felt like he had been struck by lightning. Like all of his life essence had waned away from him. He said, how can I be parted from Ram? The eye may be torn away from the eyelid, but I can't give up Ram's association. And anyway, he's just a boy. He's just 16. He hasn't even properly learned how to use his bow and arrow. He can't help you. Take anything else. The sage Vishwamitra says, how can you, having once given your word, now go back on it? And Dasarath's hands were tied. The great sage Vashishta Muni, who was the family priest of Maharaj Dasarath, he came forward and he said, O king, send your son Ram. The great sage Vishwamitra, he could have destroyed these demons himself. But just to give fame and the beautiful opulence of being glorified to your son, he will take Ram and teach him everything he needs to know to defeat these 2 demons. Don't worry about anything. In fact, send Ram and Lakshman, because you can't have one without the other. So with a heavy heart, heavily lamenting, Dasarath Maharaj sent his 2 sons with the sage Vishwamitra. They go, and first they defeat the demoness Tadaka. And she had been destroying great forests, but with 1 arrow, Ram was able to defeat her. Then the great sage Vishwamitra bestowed upon Ram many, many celestial weapons. So many celestial arrows. And he gave him mantras known as Bala and Atibala. And those 2 mantras were able to make Lord Ram and Lakshman immune to any kind of fatigue, hunger, thirst, anything. So they were able to do battle with demons without even getting tired. Then the sage Vishwamitra commences his sacrifice. And Marich and Subahu, the 2 demons, they come and they begin to wreak havoc. They are pouring gallons of blood upon the sacrifice. They would pour stool on the sacrifice and throw it in great quantity. I always wondered, like, who even wants to clean that up? That's just disgusting. We don't even know where the stool has come from. Like, it's just like disembodied stool that now appears in the sacrificial arena. And it defiles everything. And so these demons come thinking business as usual. However, Ram creates a network of arrows which shields the entire sacrificial arena from every inauspicious thing that Marich and Subahu try to throw upon the sacrificial arena. So with 1 arrow, Ram is able to kill Subahu, but he doesn't kill Maricha. With another arrow, he sends Maricha hurtling far, far, far away. And the sage Vishwamitra is able to complete his sacrifice. And with a very happy and joyful heart, he blesses Sri Ram. May you be victorious. May you gain fame and prestige throughout the entire world. May you always have victory. May victory herself follow you like a shadow. So he gives him such wonderful blessings. And then he takes Ram and Lakshman to the city of Mithila. And it is there in Mithila that he sees the daughter of King Janak, whose name is Sita. He sees her in a garden. Lakshman and Ram are supposed to be picking flowers for sage Vishwamitra's early morning puja, and instead, Ram and Sita see one another. And Sita at that moment knows, this is the Lord of my heart. This eye-to-eye union is indescribable. Literally love at first sight. But all the other women within Mithila city also see Ram. And they develop such a love within their hearts because he's the Supreme Lord. Who wouldn't fall in love with Ram? They also desire to have him as their husband. But Ram cannot fulfill that desire. Not this time. So they receive a boon. O beautiful women of Mithila city, you have done such penance. You have held the image of the Lord within your heart so devoutly, devotionally, with such sincerity, that your desire must be fulfilled. They are granted the benediction that in the next yuga, within Dwarpar Yuga, at the very end, the original source of all incarnations, Sri Krishna himself, will make his appearance. And when he does, all of you will also appear, and you will be able to attain him as your beloved. So, Sita and Ram see each other, and Sri Ram knows, this is my goddess of fortune. And they go back to picking their flowers, but Sita runs to the goddess Parvati. She recites beautiful prayers to Gauri Mata. If I have ever pleased you, then just allow this one prince who has already captured my heart to be mine forever. The goddess bestows upon her her very own garland, and with that her blessings. And she says, so be it. And this is why I see the goddess Parvati as just the queen of happily ever afters. She's so sweet in all of these pastimes. So, there is a huge Swayamvara, a choosing ceremony, where many, many princes come, and they are given the task. They are given the task of lifting and stringing the great bow of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva once was doing battle with the 3 demons of Tripura. These demons were wreaking havoc throughout all the universe. And all of the gods and everyone came to find Lord Shiva. And they chanted beautiful prayers. Oh Lord Shiva, oh you who can protect the entire universe, wake up. Arise out of your meditation and protect us. Lord Shiva opens his eyes. And it is said that Lord Shiva calls upon help from all of creation. Mount Meru is said to have taken the form of this great bow. The goddess of art and music becomes the bell hanging from that bow. There is such Shakti even in the string of that bow. But Lord Vishnu himself becomes the arrow. And so Lord Shiva takes this mighty bow and he strings it, and he takes the arrow that is the energy and the potency of Lord Vishnu himself. And with that, he kills the demons of Tripura, and he is known as Tripurari. He gives this bow to the demigods, and the demigods in turn give that bow to Maharaj Janak, the father of Sita. And so Maharaj Janak had been worshipping this bow in his home for decades. And then he has this little girl, Sita. And one day, this Sita comes into the throne room and the great temple room that has been built just for housing this bow. This bow is so heavy that it takes 300 strong men just to pull it. It's on a stand with wheels. 300 grown men have to pull it. And Sita, as a little girl, looking for a ball that she was playing with her friends, lifts the bow with one hand. She is none other than the goddess Lakshmi herself. And so she has all power and potency. She is the origin of all Shakti. She lifts the bow with one hand. Maharaj Janak and the family guru of Maharaj Janak, everyone is baffled. And in that moment, Maharaj Janak decides that is how we will find out who can be worthy of marrying Sita. Whoever can lift and string this bow will be the one to marry my daughter. Having said that, he holds the great Swayamvara competition. Many, many strong kings come forward. In some tellings, even Ravana himself comes forward, and they all fail. It is only Ram who comes forward, and it is said that at that moment, when Sita is most in anxiety, wondering what will happen, will one of these kings be the one to say that he has claimed me? What is happening? So she prays to Goddess Parvati again. And she says, "O Gauri Mata, if my devotion to you has been true, please, please let Ram be the one who I marry." And it is said that at that moment, her left eye begins to twitch. So if any of you have heard that the twitching of a left eye is auspiciousness for a woman, this is one of those reasons why. So her left eye begins to twitch, and she realizes that something auspicious is going to happen. So the identity of Maharaj Janak is he is a great Mahajan. His identity is a long story, but he's a great Mahajan. And there is a story where Maharaj Janak is so powerful, and he's such a powerful devotee, that he goes to the hellish planets and he sees that so many people are suffering. And then just by his presence, just by seeing him, he is such a great devotee that people start being freed of all their sins, and they start leaving the hellish planets, going to the heavenly planets, and going back home, back to Godhead, just from seeing him. So he's considered one of the 12 great Mahajans, whose footsteps we should always revere and follow in. So that's another long story, but that's the shortened version. So her left eye twitches and she realizes something auspicious is going to happen. And then Ram, he stands up and he walks toward the bow slowly. He walks towards the bow slowly, and my Guru Maharaj, he spent such a long time studying Ramayana that he loves to describe this pastime. And everyone is in anxiety. Everyone's been waiting all day. What will happen? Who will lift this bow? And Ram pays his obeisances to the bow. And he says, slowly, slowly. Ram is in no rush. He takes his left hand, and he slowly lifts the bow. And my Guru Maharaj says that in some tellings, he tosses the bow just to test its weight. Now, this bow is the personification of Mount Meru, huge mountain range. And Sri Ram tests the bow. He tosses it just once or twice to test the weight of this bow. Before he then stands it up, and this bow is huge. And then he takes the string and Ram was already an archer. So he takes the string and he puts one foot on the edge of the bow to hold it steady. And then he begins to unwind the string. And then he lifts the string up to the top and hooks it. And Sri Ram is already so expert in how to string a bow, how to make a bow. It's like bows are to Ram what a flute is to Krishna. So he strings this bow, and then he says he tests it. He tests the sound, and he gives it a twang. And this twang reverberates throughout the entire universe. This twang is a victory cry for Sri Ram. And Lord Shiva, out of great joy, begins to dance. Seeing the victory of his own Lord, he begins to dance. And then Ram, testing the string again, pulls back the bowstring almost to his ear. And he pulls it and stretches it farther and farther. And finally, this great bow, which was none other than Mount Meru, cracks. And the sounds of thunder reverberate throughout the sky. And the ground shakes as though there is an earthquake. This great grandiose bow of Lord Shiva has been broken. And Sita is given to Sri Ram. And everyone is happy, except Parshuram. Parshuram, who is a great devotee of Lord Shiva, arrives on the scene. Now, we may remember Parshuram from the Dasavatar. Isn't Lord Parshuram also an avatar of Lord Krishna? Yes, he is. Isn't Lord Ram also an avatar? Yes, he is. So basically, right now, God's talking to himself. So Parshuram comes, he says, who is this Ram? Who is this person who has the nerve to have my name? There is only one Ram, and that is Bhargava Ram. That's me. Who is this Ram who can bring auspiciousness? And everyone is upset. Everyone wants to hide Ram now. Because he's just a boy. He's 16. And he's sweet. His body is tender. So, he sees and he says, who is this Ram? Who has broken this bow? They have placed a noose of death around their neck if they have broken this bow. I've killed 21 generations of Kshatriyas. I have no problem killing more of you. And this is why. It's because they don't have any respect for anything. So everyone is upset. But Ram steps forward. O great sage, it is I who have broken this bow. I didn't realize that it was an offense. Please forgive me. Lakshman says a whole bunch of other things. Lakshman is not so humble. Lakshman says things like, the bow was old and it broke. Why are you creating such a big fuss over it? We played with lots of bows in our youth and they broke and nobody ever made such a big fuss. Like, why are you coming making such a huge deal over one really old, dusty bow? That only inflames Parshuram's anger even more. And so Sri Ram has to pacify. He has to pacify both his brother and Sri Parshuram. And so Sri Ram says, let me atone for my offense. Parshuram says, I have this bow. This bow is an exact replica of that same bow, but this bow is Lord Vishnu's bow. If you can just grasp this bow, then I'll know that you are something. If not, I'll kill you myself. So Lord Ram, with his tender lotus-like hands that are tinged red, he holds the great bow of Lord Vishnu. And in holding that great bow of Lord Vishnu, he even strings it, places an arrow on it. And it is said that when he holds on to the bow, and Parshuram holds on to the bow, Parshuram's Vishnu potency is then transferred back to Lord Ram. See? Details. So good. So, Lord Parshuram is known as a Shaktiavesh avatar. So it is said that at some points, he manifests the potency of Lord Vishnu. And he did so to kill 21 generations of rogue Kshatriyas. But when that potency was no longer needed, he lets it go. And so in this case, when Parshuram and Ram hold the bow, that potency of Lord Vishnu is transferred back into Lord Ram. So now Lord Ram has this bow this arrow on the bowstring. And Parshuram is saying, "Oh my Lord, I have now realized who you truly are. I could not recognize you, but now I see you." And Lord Ram says, "Once I've placed a bow, an arrow on the bow, it cannot go without a target. So I can destroy all of your tapasya, or I can destroy all of your mystical potency to move here, there, everywhere." And so Parshuram says, "Destroy my ability to move. I will go to the mountains and perform tapasya, and there I will stay until you call for me again." And so the Lord, he shoots the arrow and destroys his pride. And then Parshuram goes back to his meditation. So now, Ram and Sita are married in a grand celebration. Everyone is happy. Ram brings Sita, his bride, back to Ayodhya, where she is welcomed like a queen. She is such a beautiful princess, and everyone's happy. And then Dasarath thinks, "It's almost time for me to retire. I've been a king for a long time, and all I wanted was a son worthy of carrying on my dynasty. And now I have one. Let me give this kingdom to Ram." Everyone's happy, except Manthara. Remember when we said that Dasarath had 3 queens? Their names are Kaushalya, who is the mother of Ram; Sumitra, who is the mother of the twins, Lakshman and Shatrughna; and Kaikeyi, who is the mother of Bharat. Kaikeyi, when she came from her maternal home, came with a hunchback maid named Manthara. And this hunchback maid just loved Bharat with all of her very soul. And she thought, who is this Ram, and why does everyone make such a big deal about him? Really, everyone should be making a big deal about Bharat. Hello? Why does nobody see how wonderful Bharat is? So, when Dasarath thinks, I will crown Ram the next king of Ayodhya, everyone is happy except Manthara. Behind the scenes, the Devas in the heavens come together. They say, we have a problem. This great demon Ravana is creating problems. More problems than before. Now we approached the Lord of the universe. We approached Lord Vishnu, and he promised us he would take this form of Ram just to kill Ravan. But he's enjoying his life. We need a catalyst. We need something to induce Ram to kill Ravan now. Soon. Otherwise this demon could live for thousands of years. And the lifespan within Treta Yuga was indeed thousands of years. So even Ram himself could live for thousands of years. But if this Ravan still starts to commit all of these atrocities and more for thousands of years, how can any of us live? They ran to the goddess Saraswati. "O consort of Lord Brahma, you are the goddess of learning. You have all of the answers. Help us." The goddess Saraswati said, "So be it. I will create a catalyst." She enters into the heart of Kaikeyi. And Manthara begins to spew all kinds of hatred against Ram. Who is this Ram? If they make him king, he will kill Bharat. Kaikeyi normally would never have believed anything that Manthara said. In fact, Manthara had been speaking badly about Ram since the day Ram was born, and Kaikeyi never listened. Why would Kaikeyi listen now? Because the goddess Saraswati entered into her heart and veiled her intelligence, just so that this pastime could take place. So, Kaikeyi begins to believe everything that Manthara is saying. You know, I think you're right. I thought that maybe I was going to be the queen mother, but now I understand that my position will be no more than a maid. Ram will banish my own son if I don't do something first. Well, I am a warrior queen. I am well acquainted with the battlefield, and so once, when my husband, Dasarath, was battling against the demons, and he was battling on the side of the demigods, he was knocked unconscious, and I drove his chariot to safety. On that day, he offered me 2 boons for my service. I said, I don't need them now. He said, fine. But whenever you see fit, ask for those 2 boons. Manthara says, yes, exactly. Now is when you should use those 2 boons. So with this newfound intelligence, Kaikeyi asks for 2 boons from Maharaj Dasarath on what is, I'm sure, the worst day of his life. She asks that her son Bharat be crowned king, and that Ram is banished to the forest for 14 years. 14 years, just so that the citizens would not be able to revolt. So that there could not be any animosity. Because if Ram was still here, the citizens would revolt. Why do we have Bharat as king? So banish him to the forest. So, Ram is banished to the forest for 14 years. Ram takes this as a blessing. He says, if my mother has asked this of me, how could I think that you would wish anything bad upon me? You're my mother. I've played in your lap. When I was hurt, I would run to you. When I wanted anything, I would run straight into your arms. You love me. So I refuse to think that you would wish anything bad upon me. I take this as a blessing. It is my privilege to carry out your word. But Dasarath, in the absence of his son Ram, dies broken-heartedly, which is another long story. But we have to do the condensed Ramayana. So he dies. And Ram and Lakshman and Sita all go to the forest. There's a whole discussion. And Lakshman says, look, I'm not staying here if you go. In fact, we could destroy everyone right now. We could have our own army. Just the 2 of us. Give me the word, I'll destroy everybody and coronate you king myself. Ram says, who will you fight with? Are you going to fight with our father? Are you going to fight with Bharat and Shatrughna, your own twin? Or is it Kaikeyi you wish to fight with? Our own mother. Who will you fight with? No, I'm going to uphold the word of our father and I'm going to the forest. Lakshman says, well then I'm going too. And Sita says, I'm also going. Ram wants to stop Sita from going, but she says, when my father gave me to you, he said, here is the hand of my daughter. I have raised her to be chaste and filled with all good qualities. She will be just like your shadow. And now you want to send me away somewhere? You want me to stay here and you go? If my father had known this, he never would have given me to you. Ram says, of course I can't live without you, but how will you maintain your life? She says, if I am with you, then the forest will become like the palace for me. But if I am without you, the palace of the heavens would be like the forest for me. I cannot stay away from you. Trust me, everything will be fine. So Ram, Sita and Lakshman go off to the forest. Everything is going fine. They've met sages. Sita has been given divine ornaments because they meet the goddess Anasuya. And they meet her in the forest. And she speaks to Sita and she says, "Why are you unadorned?" Sita says, "Well, we came to the forest forsaking all comforts." And she says, "But a happily married woman is like the goddess of fortune. And if she is with her husband, she should always be adorned, even if she is in the forest." So she gives her beautiful divine ornaments and perfumes and makeup. And Lakshman expresses his reticence, his hesitation. He says, wait. But we are in the forest. We're supposed to be protecting ourselves. There are demons lurking about. If Sita is walking wearing makeup and perfumes, the demons will smell us a mile away. Sita says, "Oh, I'm never intending to wear the perfume." He says, "Well, then what's going to happen?" She says, "You can carry it for me." So, Lakshman, for 14 years, dutifully and faithfully for his sister-in-law, who he treats as honored as his own mother, he carries all of her makeup and perfumes throughout their forest life. Lakshman is so eager to serve. When they build their home in Panchavati, he constructs their home for them. It is said that Lakshman never sleeps. He doesn't sleep. He stands guard for 14 years. He doesn't sleep. It is said that before Lakshman leaves, he speaks to his own wife, Urmila, who is the sister of Sita. And he says, "I have to go to the forest, and you can't come with me." Urmila says, "Very well, but let me aid you in your service." He says, "Well, I want to guard Ram the entire time. Never let there be a time when I am not guarding Ram." She says, "Fine, then you must give up sleep, but I will sleep on your behalf." So Urmila, she goes to sleep, but Lakshman stays awake. This is the incredible power of having a divine soulmate. Sometimes we think, what is the value of a marriage in Vedic times? What is the value of having a wife? This is it. She is the potency, she is the power, she is the Shakti behind anything that occurs. Lakshman's ability to stay awake came from his wife. And so Lakshman was serving non-stop. And so she said, "I will follow you like your shadow, even in my thoughts. I will do anything just so that you're able to serve. I will stay here and I will pray for you." Those prayers of a devoted wife are more powerful than anything in the universe. And so this is why I love Vedic culture. It's balanced. You see, without Shakti Devi, Lord Shiva renounces everything. He doesn't even want to be a part of anything without the Shakti and the potency and the love of his wife. So they go to the forest, everything is fine, and one day Shurpanaka arrives, the sister of Ravan, and she sees Ram, and she thinks, well, wow, I don't think I've ever seen anyone who looks like him. And she falls madly in love. She approaches their cottage, and Shurpanaka is able to take any form at will. And so she becomes very beautiful. And she approaches Ram and says, "I would love to marry you." Ram says, "Well, I would fulfill your request. However, I am in a bind. I've taken a vow to have only one wife, and I have one, Sita. Why don't you speak to my brother Lakshman? He's equally as strong. He hasn't taken such a vow, and his wife isn't even here. So why don't you approach him?" And she does. She approaches Lakshman and says, "You are very strong. You look very heroic. Why don't you come with me and be my husband?" Lakshman says, I have promised to be like a slave to my brother Ram, and I don't think that you're the type to be a maidservant. So I think you should go back to Ram. And they exchange some jokes. Lakshman exchanges jokes at her expense. I'm sure that Ram would be happy to renounce the mediocre woman that he is currently with. He'd be glad to accept you. And Shurpanakha gets angry. And she says, I can see that the only thing standing between me and what I want is this Sita. So she moves forward to devour Sita. So then Ram rushes to Sita's defense and he says, Lakshman, do the needful. And Lakshman knows we don't necessarily kill women here, otherwise I would. But I can teach you a lesson. And so he takes his knife and he chops off her ears and her nose. And some other things in some tellings. So he chops off her ears and her nose and he disfigures her. And Shurpanakha is so angry. She runs to her cousin brothers, Kar and Dushan and Trishiras. And she says, you all are supposed to be heroic demons. You all are supposed to be able to be in charge of all of this. Kill this Ram who has disfigured me. These two men, mortals, humans. Because the Rakshasas were a great race. They had long lives and incredibly powerful bodies. She says, we are a race better than these humans. Kill them. Kar and Dushan and Trishiras amass an army of 14,000 demon soldiers. And they descend upon Ram. Ram tells Lakshman to hide Sita in a mountain cave. The cave is still there today. And it's an underground cave. Lakshman told Sita, you go hide there. She had to crawl in through the cave. So if you go to that cave, you have to crawl in. So he hid Sita in this cave, and then Lakshman stood guard out front, making sure that nothing would happen. And Ram, one man, with one arrow, did battle with all of these demoniac forces, with all of their illusory potency, able to do black magic and do all kinds of things. And with one arrow, he defeats them all. Shurpanakha is outraged. Who is this person? She runs to Lanka, the kingdom of her brother Ravana. And she approaches him and she says, now it is up to you to save me. And not just me, but to avenge the death of our brothers, Kar and Dushan and Trishiras. Are you going to let this challenge go unmatched, unanswered? Ravan is intrigued. Who did you say killed them? What demigod did this? No demigod. One man. Fine. What army? No army. One arrow. Ravan is extremely interested. Who is this? Shurpanakha says, Ram, Lakshman, sons of the great king Dasarath, wandering through the forest. They've been protecting sages, foiling all of these demoniac plans. But they have a wife, Sita. She looks like the embodiment of the goddess of fortune herself. Her form is exquisite, unlike anything you have ever seen. And you've traveled all over the three worlds. But she is unlike anything that you've ever seen. I tried. I was trying to bring this heavenly beauty to you. I thought she would be the perfect queen for you. And look what's happened to me. They've disfigured me horribly. If you are really my brother, if you are really heroic, if you are really the king of the Rakshasas, then arise and answer this challenge with everything you have. So, Ravan was not exactly so interested in avenging his sister. But a woman, that piqued his interest. And so he hears about Sita and he thinks, you're right. Anything that is unique within this world should belong to me. Ravana was very handsome. Ravana had strong arms and a broad chest. Ravana was able to disguise himself at will. He was incredibly charismatic, extremely powerful. They say that heavenly damsels were running away from home just to become the concubines, the mistresses of Ravana. That's how charismatic Ravana was. He is the half-brother of Kuvera, the god of wealth. He's not some overweight, disfigured person with a bushy mustache that they make him seem like in cinema. He's handsome. Like tall, dark, and handsome. Like the definition of tall, dark, and handsome. And he's charismatic. So when all of these women, they've been running away from home to be with him, and now there's a woman that he can't have. Now Ravana's interested. And he goes to seek the help of Maricha. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause just for a moment. And we are going to restart Instagram. Because this gets to be a special night where we tell stories for a long time. So we're going to continue with this story. But I'm going to restart Instagram. And all of us get to still be here during the commercial break. The good thing is I get to put this all up on YouTube with no interruptions. So now, if you've needed a drink of water, because things are very exciting, now's your time. If you have needed to stretch, now is the time. Because things get really exciting now. So, while we wait, we were recapping. Ravana has, we love our Instagram cousins. I love that. So, we are back. Ravana has sought the help of Maricha. Where have we heard that name before? Right, Maricha and Subahu. Same person. So Maricha, who had been chased away by one arrow of Ram's, he happens to be the uncle of Ravan. So Ravan says, Maricha, you are very expert in taking all kinds of amazing forms. I need your help. I need you to attract Sita. And Maricha says, who? He says, well, there's a Ram. And he says, well, no, I can't do it. Ram's, what do you mean you can't do it? I can't do it. I have already done battle with this Ram once. In fact, after that one encounter with Ram, I've been so in anxiety about facing Ram ever again that I can't think about anything else. I can't even be in the same room where people are saying the name Ratna because I'm so in anxiety that they will talk about Ram. So when I hear Ra, I get so freaked out and I have a panic attack, and then I hear Ratna and then I'm like, okay, they haven't spoken about Ram, all is well. So I can't do battle with Ram. I've been afraid of him ever since, and that was one arrow. I can't fight him. Ravana says, well, you have two choices. You can either do battle with Ram and take the form that I'm asking you to take and do your part or I can kill you. Those are your two choices. And Maricha says, well, it seems as though, either way, now is my time to die. I would rather die at the hands of Ram than at your hands. What do you need me to do? And Ravana says, I need you to take the form of a golden deer. And when we hear about this golden deer, we hear golden deer and we say, oh, okay, golden deer. No. My Guru Maharaj says that this golden deer was unlike anything we've ever seen. The antlers were made of diamonds and were encrusted with clusters of rubies and emeralds. Half of the face of the deer was silver and the other half was gold. It was spotted with bronze. This golden deer was unlike anything we could ever imagine. This is the form that Maricha took to captivate the mind of Sita. And indeed, she was captivated. She took one look at this golden deer and ran and said, Ram, please, can you catch it for me? Ram said, what will you do with a golden deer? She said, I'll keep it as a pet. It'll just be a pet. It'll be a gorgeous pet. And then when I get back home, my sisters will ask, well, you went and spent 14 years in the forest. What have you brought back for us? And as sisters are wont to do, whenever you go anywhere, even if they didn't go on a joyride, it wasn't like an excursion, you know? So they will ask, what have you brought us back from the forest as presents? And she said, well, I can say I brought this deer. And they'll be pacified. And Ram says, well, what if I can't? One of my friends is saying Lakshman can take care of it. Yeah, he was holding all the makeup and the perfumes. He was taking care of everything. So Ram says, what if I can't bring the deer back alive? Then she said, well, it will be sad if you can't bring the deer back alive. But if you cannot, then I will use its hide as your seating, as your vyasasana, as your asana for your seat. Because this kind of deer can't just be roaming free. Please, Ram, get the deer. Ram agrees. And Gaur Govinda Maharaj says, this deer was a demon. Shouldn't Ram know? Isn't Ram the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why wouldn't Ram know that the deer was an illusion? Gaur Govinda Maharaj says, of course, Ram knew. Ram understood that this deer was a demon. But he gives the purport that Ram was perfect. The perfect husband. Perfect. My brother is saying the word henpecked, and I do not want to use that word because it has such a negative connotation in reference to Lord Ram. And that's not what Gaur Govinda Maharaj says. He says that Ram was perfect. He was the perfect husband, and so he was never going to refuse Sita anything, even if it was bad for her. And so he says that we have to be conscious of what we ask for. We have to be careful not to ask for the things that are bad for us. And so that is the moral of this incredible pastime. We have to be careful of what we wish for. So, Ram goes, and he goes after this deer. And he knew. But he said, but Ram was perfect. Ram would give Sita anything. And Sita didn't often ask for anything. So I don't know. Gaur Govinda Maharaj, you're gonna have to go find that quote now, and you're gonna have to go put it up in its entirety, Ahovala. But if Gaur Govinda Maharaj has said it, he's a pure devotee. He can say that. I cannot say the same things that the pure devotees have said because Sri Ram is the Lord of the universe. And I don't know if I have that potency to be able to say the word henpecked in relationship with him. So you'll have to post that after in its full entirety. But from the way I read it and heard it, he said that he was perfect. And he was willing to do anything for Sita, even though he understood that it would be bad for her and bad for them. So the onus is on us to be careful what we wish for. As devotees, as lovers of the Lord, we should take very seriously what we ask for. So Ram ran after the deer, and even Lakshman says, I don't think this is a good thing. If things look too good to be true, they usually are. And has any of us ever seen a golden, silver, diamond-encrusted deer running through the forest? We've been here for 14 years. We've never seen this. I don't think this is a good idea. So, Lakshman even says that I don't think this is a good idea, but Ram says, I will get it for Sita. She's never asked for anything. Stay here and protect her. Don't leave her alone under any circumstances. So, Ram goes off and he chases after this deer at full speed. He shoots a few arrows and realizes there is something strange about this deer. This deer is not reacting like a normal deer. And he understands this deer is a demon. And so he powers up an arrow with a divine mantra and he shoots it at the deer. And the deer then takes his original form, being hit by the arrow of Ram. He takes his original form as Maricha. But with his last breath, he calls out, expertly mimicking the voice of Ram, Lakshman, Sita, help me. And then he dies. Sita hears this and she is grief-stricken. She tells Lakshman, haven't you heard? Haven't you heard what happened? That was Ram's voice calling out. Lakshman says, there is no man, beast, demon, demigod alive who can do anything to Ram. Don't worry. But Sita is overcome with grief. She says, no, I don't believe you. That was Ram's voice and I know it. You have to go and help him. Lakshman says, but I promised to stay here with you, and the one thing I cannot do is break my word to my brother Ram. And Sita says, I understand. You've come all this way into the forest just with one desire, to have me as your own. That is why you've come. Well, I won't allow it. I will not allow that to happen. If anything happens to Ram, I will commit suicide this very moment. Unless you go and help him, I will end my life right now. But never will I let you have me for your own. Lakshman is heartbroken. He says, I've treated you like my mother. I've never even looked upon your face. I've only ever seen your feet. How can you think this about me? There's nothing else I can do, but how can I maintain my life if you think this about me? Very well. I will break my oath to my brother. I will leave you here alone, even though everything within me is telling me that this is the worst idea. I will do what you wish, and I will go in search of my brother. So in very many tellings, he leaves her with a magical circle. In some tellings, he does not. As we saw in many other pastimes, why is it that in some tellings Lakshman creates a Lakshman Rekha, and in other tellings he doesn't, and then there's a great discrepancy, oh that was made up, but these pastimes are eternal, cyclical. They happen always. So sometimes, some details vary. So in some tellings, Lakshman leaves her with the Lakshman Rekha. Do not step outside this circle. Just stay here and you'll be safe. Promise you. I've put all of my potency into it. Just stay here. And he goes off in search of Ram. Meanwhile, Ravana takes the form of a wandering Brahmana. Ravana was actually the son of a Brahmana. And his father was named Vishravas. And he was such a good Brahmana. Ravan learned every Brahminical fire sacrifice, every mantra there was to know. Ravana knew it. So he didn't have to pretend to be a Brahmana. He actually was a Brahmana, and an extremely qualified Brahmana. That will come up later. So Ravana, he comes in the garb of this Brahmana and he's begging for alms. Bhiksham dehi maya. And he's calling louder and louder, and Sita comes out because she's been inside praying for the welfare of Ram. She comes out of their cottage and she sees that this Brahmin is there. She says, "Oh, welcome. Please wait a little while. My husband and my brother-in-law will return, and then we can welcome you properly." Ravana convinces her, "No, I can't wait. You must give me alms now. Otherwise, total destruction will befall your father's house, your father-in-law's house. If you don't welcome a guest properly, everyone you know, including yourself, will all be condemned and doomed to hell." Sita's beautiful heart is panic-stricken, filled with fear and anxiety. What can I do? What will I do? I can't let all of this befall my family. I have to uphold my entire family's virtue and honor. She steps closer, outside of the circle. Some say there was no circle, but she steps outside of the protection of Ram and Lakshman. She comes face to face with Ravan, who then resumes his original form. 10 heads, 20 arms, my Guru Maharaj also says. And he says, "I am Ravana, come with me. What are you doing living in the forest? I can give you a kingdom beyond your wildest imaginings." And Sita says, "You are like a crow trying to obtain a jewel. Get out from here. Get away from this place. You will be burnt to ashes just by the angry glance of my Lord Ram. You think you can possess me? Ram will destroy you and your entire race. Go while you still can." Ravana thinks, who can do battle with me? And he forcibly abducts Sita. Sita is screaming throughout the forest, screaming for help. And Jatayu, a vulture who was a friend of Maharaj Dasarath and who had been living there peacefully, almost as a guardian of Ram and Lakshman and Sita, he races to the rescue. He tries hard to do battle with Ravan, but in the end, Ravana cuts off Jatayu's wings and his claws, his talons, and Jatayu falls from the sky, and he lays dying on the ground, chanting the name of Ram. And Sita is carried away in a mystical chariot by Ravan. She is weeping incessantly. And she doesn't know what to do, where to go, who to turn to. Finally, she thinks, I have all of these ornaments that were divinely given to me. And she takes them all off. She puts them in a bundle of her own sari cloth. She tears off that piece of cloth and wraps her ornaments in them and drops them, hoping against hope that maybe someone will find those ornaments and will give word to Ram about what has happened to her, where she's been taken. But Sita is the goddess of fortune. How could she have been abducted by an evil demon like Ravan? How could he ever have even touched her? Well, here comes a wonderful detail story. I'm going to try and tell it as quickly as possible. Once upon a time, there was a sage king sage named Kushadwaj. He was chanting mantras. From those mantras was born a gorgeous woman. She looked like the goddess of fortune herself. Kushadwaj took one look at her and he said, "Of course you are none other than an expansion of the goddess of fortune. Because you were born from the chanting of my Vedic mantras, I will name you Vedavati. How can I serve you? As your own father, how can I serve you?" Vedavati says, "I wish to have the Supreme Lord as my companion. If I am none other than the goddess of fortune, her very own expansion, then I can belong to none other than Lord Vishnu." Kushadwaj tells her, "Go to the mountains and perform penance, and surely you will receive your heart's desire." So she goes to the mountains and she is performing penance. She is a gorgeous yogini. And she is effulgent with all of the Vedic mantras that she has been chanting. She is effulgent with the beauty of having meditated on Lord Vishnu. From above, flying in his celestial chariot, is Ravan. And he sees there's an effulgence here. What is this? He comes closer and he sees a woman. Matted locks piled up in her hair, and the rest streaming down her back, and her eyes are closed in meditation on her beloved Lord. And Ravan arrives, and he tries in various ways to break her meditation, but she pays him no attention. And Ravana thinks, who is this person that can ignore me? So with his hand, he grasps her hair and wraps it around his hand. And that gets her attention. And she opens her eyes and she glances at this demon. She says, who are you? How have you dared to touch me? I am the property of no one except Lord Vishnu. Ravan says, you should come with me, be my wife. She says, not only will I not come with you, but I curse you. You think you can possess anyone? You think you can go and just touch anyone? O molester of women, I curse you. And my Guru Maharaj says, with her mystical potencies, she transforms her hand into a razor-sharp edge and she cuts the hair that Ravana was holding. And she says, O molester of women, you think that you have the right to possess those who belong to others. I vow that I will be born again and I will become the destruction of you and your entire demon race. And with that she says, I have no desire to be linked with this body which has now been touched by you. And with her own yogic potency, she brings her life air up within her. And she burns herself to ashes. So, now we come back to how is Ravana able to abduct Sita? This Vedavati takes the form of a woman again, and she does much penance. And just before all of these events happen, Sita Devi goes to a very sacred place called Agni Tirtha in South India. She goes to this place, Agni Tirtha, and she prays to the sun god, to the fire god, Agni Dev. And she prays to Agni and she says, as the goddess of fortune, I understand that things are about to get very bleak. You please protect me. Agni Dev says, no problem. And he calls forth Vedavati. He says, Vedavati, now is your time to perform the service you have always wanted to perform, to fulfill your own vow. Vedavati, who is an expansion of the goddess of fortune, looks exactly like Sita. And so, she switches places with Sita. Sita goes then with Agni, and she is protected. And I hear she stays with Mother Parvati. She hangs out with Parvati for a while. So Vedavati now is in the position of Sita. And it is this Vedavati who encounters Ravan again in the form of this mendicant. It is this Vedavati who is stolen by Ravana and not Sita. It is this Vedavati that Ravana then takes by force to Lanka. Ram and Lakshman greet each other, and Ram says, "Why are you here? I asked you to watch over Sita. You are supposed to be watching her. Anything could happen." They race back to the cottage, and they find that Sita is not there. Ram is distraught. He says, "Lakshman, where could she have gone? She wouldn't go anywhere without me." He asks the trees. He asks the birds. And it is a sorrowful scene where Ram is asking, "Oh, many trees of this forest, you were Sita's dearest companions. She loved to speak with you. She picked flowers from you every day. Have you seen my queen? Where is she?" Finally, Ram says, "Lakshman, if I do not recover Sita today, then with one arrow, I will destroy this entire universe. Forget the reason for which I have come. I will destroy everything." And Lakshman says, "Wait! You can't destroy the universe. That is not the reason for which you have come. You've come to destroy one demon, not the entire universe. We will find Sita. Be patient. Take heart." So they begin to look for Sita. And they travel, and they go a great many places. They encounter a demon with arms that are 8 miles long. And he has one eye in the middle of his stomach, and his mouth is there, and he's huge and hairy and like a mountain. And they kill him, this demon Kambanda. And he says that you should go and find Sugriva, the monkey king, the king of the Vanaras, the king of the celestial race of beasts, which has no actual translation, but it is something kind of like a monkey. And so Ram and Lakshman, they go and they find Sugriva. And that story has been told again and again. Sugriva sees these two men coming and says, "What is happening here? Who are those two? They look effulgent. They look like sages, but they're holding weapons, and that doesn't normally happen, and I don't know what's going to happen, and this looks like an attack. Someone should go find out what they're really about." And so Hanuman, the great hero of the Ramayana, one of the most well-known characters in all of Vedic history, goes to meet Sri Ram. And they meet Sri Ram, Ram and Hanuman meet, and there is an embrace. Ram is so eager and happy to meet with Hanuman. And then Hanuman takes them to Sugriva. And Sugriva says, "Friends can be friends because they share a common goal. Only somebody who understands exactly what you are going through can properly sympathize with you and help you. I myself lost my wife. She was taken by my brother Vali. If you help me get my wife back, then I will help you find Sita. That is my promise. Let us make a friendship based on this pact." They join hands and they make a friendship. And they say, "Well, did you get any word? How do you know about Sita? Anything?" He says, "Oh, well, there was a woman. She passed by here days ago. She was crying pitifully, crying out the name of Ram, Ram. And she dropped these ornaments." And they bring the ornaments to Ram and Lakshman. And Ram says, This must be her very nose ring. This must be the jewels she wore in her head. This must be her bangles. Lakshman, these must be the jewels of Sita. You tell me. Can you confirm? Are these Sita's jewels?" Lakshman said, "I can't confirm any of that. I never looked above her ankles. But those are the anklets of my mother. I would know them anywhere. These are the jewels of Sita." Lakshman had such a wonderful sweetheart that he never even looked at her face. He couldn't even tell which jewels she wore, but he knew her anklets. So those belong to Sita. And so Ram and Lakshman, their hearts are bolstered with confidence. And they do battle with Vali and they defeat him. And then Sugriva, after some coaxing by Lakshman, because Sugriva, once he gets his wife back, he spends the 4 months of the rainy season in a bit of a drunken stupor. He goes and has a bit of a party. And he has his wife and he's happy. Everything is fine. Everything is wonderful. And he gets very intoxicated. And so my Guru Maharaj likes to say that now we need Guru, who is none other than Lakshman, to snap us out of it and remember our promise to Krishna. We need to remember our promise to the Supreme Lord. So Lakshman, he sends Hanuman. He says, tell that Sugriva that I'm going to kill him. Sri Ram has been waiting here for 4 months of the rainy season, understanding that we could not travel, but now we can travel again. And this Sugriva is sitting here drinking, having wonderful celebrations. My Ram is crying. He has sat in a cave and he has done nothing but chant the name of Sita on a mala. Tell Sugriva I'm going to kill him. Hanuman goes and dutifully relays the message. Sugriva, you should stop the reveling because you are in trouble. Lakshman goes and he faces Sugriva and he says, what do we plan to do about this? Sugriva says, please don't kill me. I was rallying the troops just now. Promise. Sorry. And so he rallies all of the troops and he sends armies in every direction. And they go and they search and they search and they search. And finally, before they leave, Ram gives his signet ring. His ring. That has his own name engraved on it. The ring that anyone, anywhere would know Ram by. His signet ring. He gives it to Hanuman. He says, I have faith that you will be the one. My heart tells me if anyone can find my Sita, it is you. And he gives that ring to Hanuman. They travel all over the world and they can't find Sita. And they come to the southern seashore and all of the monkeys resolve. They say, okay, we have to stop looking. Hanuman says, this is preposterous. We can't stop looking. And Hanuman says, it would be better to give up our lives than to stop looking. And the monkeys say, you're right. Let's fast here until death. And they sit down to fast until death and give up their lives. And it is at that moment that they meet the vulture, Sampati. Sampati arrives and he is the brother of Jatayu. And Sampati cannot fly. So he thinks, wow, the gods have given me an easy meal. So many monkeys have come and they look like they're fasting until death. All I have to do is wait. So he comes, he kind of looks around and he hears their conversation. Some of them are speaking about Ram. Some of them are speaking about how Sita was stolen from Ram and some great Jatayu jumped to their... Jatayu? Sampati is intrigued. Who is speaking about my brother? Jatayu is my brother. What happened to him? They tell him he gave his life in the service of Sri Ram. He died fighting this great demon Ravan. Ravan has killed my brother? Do you know him? Sampati says, I saw him. He was flying on his chariot. He just went that way. And they say, well, how do we know we can trust you? Sampati says, I can't fly, but I have very good eyesight. And I can see all the way across the ocean. Hundreds of miles across the ocean, I can see across the sea into the kingdom of Lanka. Not only can I see into the kingdom of Lanka, I can see that is where Ravana has taken this woman. So now they know where Sita is, but how to get there? Through mystical arrangements, Jambavan is there, and he becomes the guru of Hanuman, the best friend of Hanuman. He reminds Hanuman, Hanuman, you can do anything. You have magical powers. You are the same person that flew to the sun to try and swallow it. You can take any form you wish in order to serve Lord Ram. And with the magical mantra of Sri Ram's holy name, Hanuman assumes a humongous form. And with one jump, he jumps across the sea, does battle with demons on the way, and then he reaches Lanka. And my Guru Maharaj says, in some cases, in order to get around Lanka, he assumes the form of as small as a thumb. And in some cases, because he can wander bigger, he assumes the form of a small cat. It's like a regular monkey. Walks around the city, tries to see some things. There are so many Ramayan stories. We could spend a month telling all the stories of the Ramayana. So we'll have to come back to those. But he sees so many things. Finally, he's looking for Sita and he finds her in the Ashokvan, in the Ashok garden. He's perched in a tree and he looks and he sees this woman. She's crying, ready to end her life, saying, when will my Lord Ram save me? And he knows this is Sita. But he has to save her life now because she is in such despair that she wants to end her own life. He jumps down from the tree and begins to sing about Ram. Sita is so happy. She hears, who is this in this forsaken kingdom singing about my Ram? She speaks with Hanuman. He says, come with me, I'll take you back to Ram this very instant. All you have to do is get on my back, I can take you. She says, no, I can't go with you. Only Ram can save me. Only Ram can touch me. Only Ram. And so, Hanuman boosts her faith. He says, fine, no problem. But I'm hungry. Can I eat some of these fruits? She says, no problem. Take as much as you like. Hanuman is a monkey. He begins to cause a great stir. And Ravana sends all of his sons and warriors out because they say, there's a monkey causing a disturbance. He says, why have you disturbed me for a monkey? Go kill him. And so many of the sons of Ravana lose their lives at the hands of Hanuman. And he thinks, but the servant does more for the master. Let me see if I can speak to this Ravan. And so he agrees to allow himself to be captured. Because Hanuman has received so many boons, nothing can bind him. Nothing can affect him. No kind of disease can affect him, nothing at all. But he allows himself to be bound. And so he is dragged before Ravan and he says, you should give back Sita. It's a terrible thing that you've done. Give her back and all can be forgiven. Ravana says, kill him. And Vibhishan, the pure-hearted brother of Ravan, even though he's a demon, he speaks up for Hanuman. He says, this is impossible. You can't kill a messenger. He's just here on behalf of Ram. If you kill him, it goes against all the codes of etiquette. He says, fine, I won't kill him. But the pride of a monkey is his tail. And this Hanuman seems to have such a nice long tail. Set his tail on fire, then let him go home. They wrap Hanuman's tail in swaths and silks and cloth. And then they light the tail on fire. Hanuman has a benediction that fire cannot harm him at all. And so Hanuman changes his form and shrinks out of the bindings. And he gets free. And then with his tail, he burns the entire city of Lanka down. In his own way, he sees this as doing service. He gets the entire layout of all of Lanka. And he says, I will carry this news back to my Ram. So when he attacks, he will know all of the fortresses of Lanka. And he also burns the city down to the ground. He tells Ram, Ram gives him an embrace. He gives Sita's own jewel back to Ram. I have found her. And Ram is such a good servant that he does not say, I have found Sita. Or I have seen Sita. He travels back to Ram saying, found is Sita. Because he wants Ram to feel relief in his heart. And he says, okay, if I just say I have, he'll be in anxiety. Even if I just say Sita, he'll be in anxiety thinking what has happened. And I don't want my Lord to be in not one moment of anxiety. So he says, found is Sita. Found is Sita. So that Ram will be relieved immediately. And Ram embraces Hanuman. He says, I have nothing to give you. All of my wealth is elsewhere. But you have my heart. And he embraces Hanuman. A great battle ensues. Vibhishan comes onto the side of Lord Sri Ram and dedicates his life to him. Dedicates his whole life to him. A great battle happens. They build the bridge to Lanka. They do battle with Ravan. Ram defeats Ravan finally. And now he is going to get Sita back. Imagine, just imagine, Ram has been waiting for so long, 10 months, to be reunited with Sita. But what did we say before? This is Vedavati. And so when this Sita comes before him, he understands this is not my wife. Imagine how broken-hearted Ram must feel. So many people call Ram hard-hearted. Why would he make Sita go through a trial by fire? But how broken-hearted must Ram have felt? He sat in a cave for 4 months just chanting her name. And now, this woman is not his wife. He says, I can't accept you. He can't even look at her. He has promised he won't even look at another woman. So he can't even look at her. I'm sorry, Devi, but I can't accept you. He knows this is not my Sita. And so she tells Lakshman, build me a funeral pyre. I will enter into fire this very moment. And Lakshman has no choice but to build her this funeral pyre. And from the flames comes Agni. And Agni says, you're right. This isn't your wife. Here is Sita, pure as ever. She has never been seen even by the demon Ravan. Here she is. Take her back, Ram. And lovingly, happily, Ram receives his wife. But Sita Devi says, but just look at the sacrifice of this Vedavati. You cannot let that go unacknowledged. You must acknowledge what she has done for you. Oh my Ram, you have to do something for her. She has meditated just to become your beloved consort. Can you do something? Ram says, you know I can't. In this incarnation, I can't do anything. Sita says, you must. Now it is my vow. I must arrange personally for her to have her own happily ever after. You must accept her. Ram says, fine. On the order of you, my dearest, I will accept her. Not this time, but I will return. And he begs her, do penance again. So Vedavati, who had never even seen Lord Ram, because she switches places when Ram goes to find the deer, she had never seen Ram and had just waited for him for millennium after millennium, body after body, lifetime after lifetime. She waited for him, and finally when she saw him, he couldn't accept her. She goes to perform more penance. Treta Yuga goes by. Dwarpara Yuga goes by. Usually Krishna fulfills all desires from this pastime, but Dwarpara Yuga goes by. Kali Yuga arrives. And then the Lord comes as Srinivas, Lord Venkateshwara. He arrives in Tirupati. Vedavati is none other than Padmavati, the wife of Lord Venkateshwar. So that is that hidden story. He finally keeps his promise to Sita Devi and accepts Vedavati as his wife in that incarnation of Lord Balaji. which is why Balaji has 2 wives. That's a story for another day, and a story that I love so much. But it's just enough to know that Sri Ram did not let it go unfulfilled. Krishna never forgets. So, Ram brings his wife back home, but it does not silence the people of Ayodhya. There is one very fallen fisherman whose wife stayed out a little too long. And she comes back home, and this fisherman says, "What do you think? I can't accept you back home. What do you think? I'm like Ram? Ram, who let his wife go to some other man's house for 10 months, nearly a year, and just accepted her? I can't be like that." These words were painfully brought back to Ram. Not just one man, but there were several criticizing him. And Ram, being the perfect example, sends Sita away. People ask, why would this happen? Sita is the goddess of fortune. No one can make her do anything she does not want to do. So my Guru Maharaj likes to also say, but Sita upholds the truthfulness of her own Ram, even at the cost of saying, if I have to bear the separation of Ram, I will uphold his honor over and above everything. Willingly, she takes on that separation. And he sends Sita away. There in the forest, in the ashram of Valmiki Muni, she gives birth to twin boys, Lava and Kush. So many people are asking, why couldn't Ram back up Sita and her purity? Yes. And he tells the story. But she went through the Agni Pariksha. She went through the trial by fire. They didn't care. And Ram came to be the perfect example. He is Maryada Purushottam. He will never step outside the bounds of decency. And so because he is perfect, he breaks his heart again and again for that perfection. And so it is said that Krishna is more concerned with protecting his devotees than he is with being perfect for the sake of society. So some people are saying that I'm inaudible. Is that happening? Can you all hear me? Especially on Instagram? Just send up those hearts if you can hear me, because otherwise I have no idea what's happening. So Ram breaks his own heart to be perfect. But it says that Krishna is more concerned with saving his devotees and his family and those he loves. He's more concerned with saving them than being perfect in the eyes of society. And that is why I love Govinda. He breaks the rules for us time and time again. He doesn't care. He says, let the world shun me, but I will protect my devotees. No matter what, I will break my own promises just to protect my devotees. Thank you. So, Sri Ram was perfect and he sends her away. Now we come to Krishna never forgets. This is a story that I've known throughout my entire life, but I now get to read it from Garga Samhita. Krishna goes to Mathura. He sees a washerman and he says, "Can I have some of your cloth?" The washerman says, "Who are you desiring these cloths? This is meant for the king. Go away from here." Krishna slaps him and kills and decapitates this man. The king Bahulashva, who is the current king of Mithila at this time, now says, "Although my heart has already heard Lord Krishna's sacred pastimes from your mouth, it thirsts to hear them again. Although it has already drunk this nectar, it thirsts to drink it again. I have already heard from you the description of the deeds of Kamsa in his previous birth, and the deeds of Keshi and other demons. Who was this washerman in his previous birth? Why did Lord Krishna kill him? And why did his spiritual effulgence merge into Lord Krishna's body? I urge you all to listen carefully." Sri Narada said, O king of Videha, in Treta Yuga, in Lord Ram's kingdom in Ayodhya, as Lord Ram's spies overheard, this same washerman said to his wife, I will not maintain you, a sinner that returns at dawn from another's house. Ramachandra, who is greedy to enjoy his wife, may continue to maintain Sita, but I am not like him. Hearing from many mouths that the people were criticizing him, Lord Ramachandra at once exiled Sita to the forest. Lord Ramachandra had no wish to punish him, but in due course of time, this person became a washerman in Mathura at the end of Dwapar Yuga. To stop his blasphemy, however, Lord Krishna killed him. Krishna never forgets. From the other Yuga, Krishna remembered, this is that same washerman that got me separated from my wife. He gave him an opportunity. If the washerman had handed over the cloth, there would be no problem. But he didn't. He continued to blaspheme Krishna. And so Krishna, remembering everything, thought, fine, it's now time for you to die. And he kills him. How incredible is our Krishna? How exciting is our Krishna? This is the comeuppance that I seek, because I really had bad feelings about that washerman for a long time. Like, you got him separated from Sita. For what? Just so you could be mean to your own wife? Seriously? But Krishna never forgets. He is crooked. He remembers everything. He will find a way to make sure that the comeuppance happens. So, to stop his blasphemy, Lord Krishna killed him. Then the Lord, who is an ocean of mercy, gave him liberation. So he not only killed him, but he still gave him liberation. How merciful is our Krishna? How merciful is our Krishna? He is the best. But there is one more pastime that we have to read before we end. Sri Bahulashva said, what severe austerities did the maidservant Kubja perform in her previous birth, that she so pleased Lord Krishna, whom even the demigods cannot attain? Are we ready for this? Sri Narada said, gazing at Lord Ram in the Panchavati forest, a demoness named Shurpanaka fell passionately in love with him. Seeing that Lord Ram had vowed to accept only one wife and had not fallen in love with her, Ravan's sister Shurpanaka angrily ran to devour Sita Devi. At this, Lord Ram's younger brother Lakshman became angry and with a sharp-edged sword quickly cut off her ears and nose. Her nose cut off, Shurpanaka went to Lanka and told Ravana what had happened. Then, unhappy at heart, Shurpanaka went to Pushkar Tirtha. Wishing to get Lord Ram as her husband for 10,000 years, Shurpanaka stayed underwater and meditated on Lord Shiva. Pleased by this, Lord Shiva, who is the master of the demigods and the husband of Uma, came to Pushkar and said, ask for a benediction. Shurpanaka said, you are the great master of the demigods. You are dear to the great saints. You have the power to give all kinds of benedictions. Please grant me that Sri Ram will become my husband. Lord Shiva said, O demoness, please listen. At the present time, your boon cannot be granted. But in the future, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, in Mathura, it will be granted to you. Of this there is no doubt. Sri Narada said, O noble-hearted one, in Mathura, the demoness Shurpanaka, who could assume any form at will, became the girl named Kubja. By Lord Shiva's blessing, she became Lord Krishna's own beloved. How amazing is our Krishna? And how intertwined and beautiful are these Vedic histories? How amazing are these pastimes? So yes, someone is saying, isn't Kubja Mother Earth? Yes. We see in the pastimes of Gora, in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, that sometimes multiple personalities, they merge and they become one person. So she is a partial expansion of Mother Bhumi, but she is also this Shorpanaka. So there are many reasons as to why she is deformed and disfigured. So this Shorpanaka is now wonderfully, she's wonderfully given the benediction of becoming Lord Krishna's very own beloved. This is the greatness of our best friend. And Krishna is our best friend. He can do anything. He has done anything for demons. Just imagine what he can do for those of us who think of him favorably. Let us just think of Govinda with all favor and all affection in our hearts. Krishna, you are able to do anything and everything, and you do anything and everything, even for demons. Just take my heart. Accept me. Accept all that I am, understanding that I am none other than part and parcel of you. Accept all of who I am as your very own. I have nothing to give you except for this heart. Please accept me. And Krishna will. He will accept every one of us. He will make miracles in our lives. He will give us the best of everything. This is our Govinda. He gives pleasure to the senses. He never leaves the devotee. He makes the earth happy. He gives meaning to our lives if we just ask. Just accept me. He did the same for Shurpanaka. He came and accepted Kubja. As Balaji, he accepted Vedavati. He fulfills all promises. The Mithila women saw Ram and wanted them as their husband. He accepted them as Krishna. So many gopis, millions of gopis, had their wishes fulfilled because they were other people who had seen the Lord in many other incarnations, and they wished to embrace him to their heart. Krishna says, so be it. I will accept all of you. Krishna's heart is so wide and so vast that he makes it a vow to not turn anyone away. He even gave the washerman a chance. But the washerman would not accept, remembering that this is the man who separated Ram and Sita. Then he killed him, but still offered him liberation. How wonderful is our Krishna. How wonderful is our Krishna. With his bare hands, just one karate chop, that's it. This is our Lord. This is our best friend. This is our maintainer, our protector. This is the life of our very life. This is our Krishna, who is all attractive, greater than the greatest. And yet, he says to Arjuna, forget all that. Just remember that I am your dearmost friend. Fix your mind on me. Engage your thoughts on me. Give your heart to me, and in that way, I will protect you from everything. I will give you everything. This is our best friend. Thank you for being with me through this 2-hour-long session. I was so excited. There were so many details and so many stories to tell. Thank you for letting me give some service by telling them. Thank you for allowing me to do just a little bit. If I enlivened your day, your night, your middle of your day, your afternoon, thank you. If I've done anything good, say a prayer that my Govinda will accept me. Say a prayer that my Guru Maharaj will just be happy with me. Say a prayer that I will just have made my family happy. Say a prayer that I will not have offended anyone. but that somehow all of our hearts are able to come together and enjoy the nectar that is the glorious, unending pastime of Sri Krishna. If I've done anything good, just say a prayer for me. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, where we will find out what adventures will our best friend go on next. What will he do next? It's so exciting. I'll see you all again soon. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai. See you all again soon.